To say Texas lawmakers will be busy this summer may be a little bit of an understatement. Just hours after both the House and Senate adjourned the regular legislative session on Monday, Governor Greg Abbott called a special session. The next day, the House passed a border security bill and the House version of property tax relief and then adjourned, leaving the Senate to take the House bill Governor Abbott backs. But wait, there's more. That's why we invited Brian Smith, political science guru and professor from St. Edward's University, to Midday to break it all down for us. So welcome, and thank you so much for talking about this.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a busy time. So Senate is expected to be back on Friday. What options are on the table for Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and the upper chamber right now?
Well, the Senate, if they want to have a long summer, they look at the House version, they pass the House version, send it to the governor, they sign it, and then enjoy the rest of their time unless the governor calls another special session. If they want to stretch it out, they debate it, they say we're not going to do anything, and then they adjourn, at which point we will definitely have another special session. The Senate also knows they are going to have to deal with an impeachment trial, so they are certainly coming back. But what we see right now is a lot of gridlock between Republicans.
And that's what we've noticed, a lot of infighting, right? So what could trigger another special session?
Obviously, the governor wants a deal on property tax cuts, and he's not going to let the legislature go home unless he gets one. So what's going to trigger another special session? The Senate says no to the House version, they adjourn, and then the governor will immediately call another special session.
So Brian, what do you think? Will that happen?
It is definitely going to happen. One of the things about social media is we've seen the lieutenant governor really draw a line in the sand saying we're not going to do this, we're not going to pass the House version, this is how legislation works. But actually this is a very good starting point because we see where the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Speaker of the House are. They've laid out their cards, now they can compromise. But right now, everybody's saying, I'm taking my ball and going home.
There you go. Okay, let's move on to the impeachment trial, which you mentioned earlier. So the Senate is expected to hold this trial for Attorney General Ken Paxton. The now suspended Paxton is accused of bribery and abuse of public trust. The Lieutenant Governor said on Tuesday that he will act as the presiding judge, and the lawmakers are coming up with the rules for this trial. So what can we expect from the impeachment trial?
Well, what we're going to see is a trial very similar to the impeachment trials we've seen at the federal level, where the House will present a case and then the Senate will serve as the jury to vote on that. So it's going to be interesting to see how the case is managed, what kind of votes are taken, what the role of Ken Paxton's wife is going to be. But what ends up happening, it does need that supermajority of 2/3 to impeach the Attorney General.
And so you brought up Angela Paxton. What are the rules? She's required to be there. Does she have to recuse herself?
She's required to be there, and she's required to be what we call an impartial jury. If she believes she cannot do that, then she would have to discuss that with the Senate leadership of what her role is going to be. If she believes she can be an impartial jurist, then she would be able to vote just like any other senator.
So she's not required to recuse herself because she's the wife?
There's no written requirement, but who knows what's going to happen. We haven't had one of these for a real top-level official since Paul Ferguson was impeached and removed in 1917.
Yeah, a little bit ago. Okay, and quickly, how much are all these special sessions and the impeachment trial going to cost taxpayers like us?
Well, they budget for special sessions, but the people who are in the special session, they do get a per diem. They do have to stay here in Austin. And this is actually good for the local economy. This kind of stretches out the legislative session. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of cost neutral. There is a cost of paying for people, keeping everything going, but to take care of important things, I think it's worth having the special session.
It is worth noting, we're talking about millions of dollars per session, and then you have the trial. It's going to start on August 28th. How long can that trial last?
Well, the trial will last until the Senate is ready to take a vote, and this could be a very quick trial, or it could be an extended trial. We do know, though, they have a constitutional obligation to actually then take that vote.
Okay, Brian Smith, professor of political science from St. Edward's University, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again for having me.